confirmed Keone Hanalei. Aloha.
Aloha, yes.
Aloha. Um, so I'll start at the beginning, at the very beginning. Um, who are you? Who do you think you are when you wake up in the morning? You say, my name is Keone Hanalei, and I am.
Mm. I feel like maybe it's an unspoken thing, but there's just this sense of excitement about how to engage with the day, because the day, and especially living on Maui, right? It's just like resources are everywhere, right? The natural
Okay,
world is everywhere, and an excitement of just being able to engage and collaborate with all the resources around me.
you know, I've been listening to your podcast, I've been watching your Zooms, I've seen your um, teachings on your website, and my my version of you is that possibly you're a shaman or a teacher, or maybe you're a kahuna. Are you a kahuna?
Well, my great great grandmother was a kahuna,
Well,
and
that's why I thought it might be.
so it definitely is within my lineage. And I would say perhaps the accurate thing for me is that I'm a result of a kahuna. And
Result of
so
a.
a lot of what I share and what I do now is just carrying on a legacy of what a kahuna would do. And, a lot of the work that I do in the classes that you shared and especially in the apothecary and the plant medicine that I engage in is really fulfilling this legacy of my
Yes,
lineage, which spans 1017 generations.
I I've read that, and that's incredible. And it's incredible that you can trace it back. You know, I come from Chicago, and my dad comes from Chicago, and his dad comes from Chicago. It's just not that interesting. Um,
Well, to us, right, in Maui, a place like Chicago is very exotic.
is it?
So yes, and so we would find people from Chicago just so interesting, and we'd be so curious about you because it's so exotic to us.
And vice versa. And vice versa for me of you, because I understand that your lineage goes back beyond pre-Polynesian, which I'm a certain age, so and I've never been to Hawaii, so my understanding of Polynesia, it was one thing, probably made by Disney. And then it's, as an adult, I can understand and respect what it is. But now I'm learning so much more just listening to you. And I'm curious. So I know a little bit about how you create Pōhala, which I love the meaning. And it is what's the language called?
It's Hawaiian.
Hawaiian.
Mhm.
And it's to wake from a stupor, which is what your products do for me.
Mhm.
It's like that moment I'm like, a little refresh.
Yeah.
And I know you have such a special way of creating the products where you honor the ferns and you bless them and you only harvest at a certain time. Can you explain to the listeners how you do that? Or
Yeah.
is that a secret?
Oh no, I'd love to share that. And this is something that was taught to me by my grandmother, Kauiki Onalani. And so when I was born, my grandmother, she hanai'd me. Hanai is a tradition in the Hawaiian culture where uh, an elder specifically will adopt a child, and the child will learn from the elder a lot of the traditions of either the family or the culture in general.
Hmm.
And when my grandmother hanai'd me, one thing that she really taught me was the art of la'au or plant medicine. And of course, part of the la'au protocols is also extraction,
Okay.
plant extractions. And so my company Pōhala is, I would say, like a byproduct of what my grandmother taught me, although it's been modernized, right?
Okay.
It's
How
modernized,
so?
but a lot of the extractions and the way that I engage, just as you shared with the plants, is done in the traditional ways that my grandmother taught me.
So do you just go out on your own and pick the ferns, or do you have a whole team of people, or is it like a farm and that's how it goes?
Oh yeah, it's all me.
It's you.
And because there is a level of telepathy that is required because you need consent from the botanicals. And
Okay.
if I were to go with other people, it could be distracting for me because I'd be tuning into their field rather than the plant's field. So the human auric field is very loud.
Okay.
And there's many different reasons why we can feel that the human auric field specifically is so loud. There seems to be a lot of agitation within
Yes.
humanity, even if it's unconscious to us, right? It's like we're
Agreed.
unconsciously just agitated. And so it
Agreed.
distracts me from being able to engage with the plants in a proper way. And I love to be very, I would say like diplomatic when I say that, because I'm not like saying there's anything wrong with anyone, right? Because when people
Hmm.
ask me like, can I come with you to forage? And I explain to them, I say, well, it's best that I go alone, otherwise I can get distracted. I don't want to offend anyone because it just
Yes.
seems to be something in general that is happening within human collective right now. Is there's this loud volume that is
Yes.
coming from human beings, and so I go alone, and depending on the negotiation that I have with these plants, sometimes I'm there sitting with a plant for hours
Really?
until it offers me consent. Sometimes, Abby, I don't get consent, which can be a
Okay.
little like disappointing, right? Because
Right.
a lot of the journey, the huaka'i that I do, it's on foot, and so I'm going 20 miles, right, into a forest,
Wow.
and the response is no. But it's become such a beautiful ceremony to me, and it really allows me to deepen into the potency and the power of the medicine. So even when I get something like a no, it's like, oh, it reminds me of how sacred and how powerful the plants truly are.
And the ferns specifically, because they have no gender.
Yeah, yeah, they're asexual. They have energetic, I would say, constitutes that could qualify them as masculine or feminine. So when something, and I'm speaking on behalf of Hawaiian and Mu culture. So Mu or Mu, some people say Lemuria, that would be what is considered pre-Polynesian Hawaiian culture.
Okay. Yes.
And so Pua Ihu Ihu fern medicine, we're now tapping into Mu, pre-Polynesian. And
Right.
so when I talk about 1017 generations, that's going to 18,000 BC. And it's in 18,000 BC that we are in that pristine Mu kind of like access.
Where it's
And
just
in,
clean energy, where it hasn't been contaminated almost. Is that because
yeah,
we're very contaminated?
yeah. And here's the thing, Abby, just because you've inspired me with what you said about the contamination. Because once again, right, I want to approach humanity in a diplomatic way because I don't want to like shame humanity and be like, oh, it's hopeless. But
Oh, I don't think it's hopeless.
say, what I would say differentiates my ancestors from 18,000 BC to humanity right now is when we go into the doctrines of Mu, we don't find possession anywhere,
Like possession of like a shirt or possession of I own this land or
right?
possession
Any kind
how?
of possession culture, any kind
Okay.
of possession, because possession also could, suggest attachment. But when we go into those doctrines, we don't find the conversation or the mention of possession anywhere.
That's
And so
interesting.
that's what I would say differentiates us now than what differentiates someone from 18,000 BC.
Is there a word that existed that meant possession?
Not at all.
Isn't that interesting?
Not at all.
Because with different languages have words for things. I can't think of one specifically, but um, so I'm wondering, do you think of yourself as a grandson before you think of yourself as a son?
Well, I would say I'm a man who is a result of a kahuna that was nourished by a grandmother, that was inspired by a mother. And so, because we're talking lineage here, and I feel so blessed that I have access to such a long lineage,
Yes.
and the lineage is really a resource for me. There's never a moment in my life where I feel alone.
Oh, how
Which
lovely.
is why I can do these 20-mile journeys, right?
Yes.
And be in complete bliss because I have so much company with me. And so really the support and the encouragement I have from the lineages, I feel like for perhaps the power that really allows me to persevere,
When you walk for 20 miles, are you not walking alone then?
right?
You know,
Right.
um, I not recently, I have lost my mother and my grandmother, but when something comes up, I know what they would say. And I'll say it out loud because I know what they will say about a situation or at that moment or a joke they would say. And I say it and it helps me.
Yeah.
Um, do you hear what your tutu or your mother would say to you in certain situations, or do you're just having thought?
I definitely feel guided. I definitely feel guided and and reassured
How
throughout the
wonderful.
yeah. And so that's always really supportive. But also, when I'm in the forest for, 14 hours, I'm also in the company of incredible spirits, the
Yes.
devas in the forest and the plants and the trees and the rivers and the rocks and all of that. And if you can attune yourself, right? And perhaps for many people, we're coming back into this fluency of clairvoyance and of telepathy. I feel like some people don't even know what it is, and so it's kind of scaring them.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I'm blown wide open when I'm in Nahele in the forest, and it's like a symphony. And
Because
so,
you're open to it.
yeah.
You're ready to accept. So I'm curious because in some ways I feel like we are technology could almost be a contaminant, but you said 13 years ago you really thought you would, you know, share all of your knowledge. Do you think it was because of a contaminant, Western technology, that you could share it? You can get to me in Chicago, where, and there, when I was speaking with Darcy, she said when she would get on your Zooms years ago, it would be a very small community. I was on one, it was close to 200 people. And we were all very tuned into it and moving and swaying and that's all you, because your spirit is contagious. Your laugh is contagious. And when we listen to you, you want more.
Mm.
But is it the technology or was it something that sparked within you?
We have something in, thank you, Abby. We have something in my culture called kia kahi, and kia kahi means purpose. And I sort of wandered around for most of like my adolescence and even as an adult, just like not feeling fulfilled. And it
Okay.
was just like, it was so annoying. That's the best word. It
Okay.
was just like annoying. I didn't feel fulfilled. And when I became available to receive the reminder of what my kia kahi is, it has a lot to do with transferring the knowledge and the lessons from my grandmother and from my lineage, and to create it as something that's accessible to everyone. And so, with technology becoming this access point, it most certainly also motivated me
Okay.
that I have a platform now.
Yes. So I'm curious though, because you do, share all of this information. You're like giving away the secrets are that, in their rituals and all these wonderful things. But is this, are you offending anybody?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, there's something in my culture that's known as kapu. And kapu originally just means moratorium. And we hold certain things in moratorium, including like, here's a very practical example. When we've overfished a
Yes.
certain area,
Mhm.
it is now kapu so that it can replenish itself. And
Yes.
so originally, kapu was just about a proper moratorium, but it turned it into a mandate of secrecy in
Okay.
order to withhold certain things. And it makes sense because, Hawaii, there was a kind of, I would say, encroachment on Hawaii and the culture. And so there
Right.
was almost like this scramble to preserve what we could so that it could not become corrupted.
Yes.
But what I remember, and something that my grandmother, Kawiki Onalani, and all the elders shared with me, is they said, Aloha is not a possession.
So it's love to share.
It must be shared with all. And those of us who are of the genetic code, the Hawaiians, we actually have access to a kind of refinement of it. And so, who best to be the ones to proliferate it in this world? And so, it's very common, Abby, that I'm met with a lot of people who want to silence me,
Okay.
because a lot of what I share, it's kapu. And my
All right.
response is always that and aloha, it's not a possession. It needs a leader. It needs someone to steward it. And part of my kiakahi is to be that steward.
Are you stewarding us through ulu and your teachings and your alchemy? Are you doing it all in like a hope of repairing the world?
Well, the objective, right, is
Yeah, the objective.
the objective for me is to fulfill my kiakahi.
Okay.
And I know that could even sound maybe even a little egotistical, right? But
Sure.
truly, that's part of my kiakahi. And the fact that my kiakahi can also turn into a contribution, I feel like there's where the integrity lies.
Well, you touch me when I'm listening, and I do feel, a little bit calmer. I feel a little bit at peace. I'm I'm very Western in Chicago, where we're always running to the next thing, and I take a minute for myself. I try, but in general, I'm pretty Western. Always like the next, the next, the next. So I appreciate, even though I get your Zooms through technology, I do appreciate what you do. It's, 1 or 1.5 hours on the weekend that I can take to myself. Um, and I say, I'm on a Zoom. um, and so it's, it's your purpose, but what gives you energy every day?
Ah, it would be in the actual activity of the purpose.
Okay.
And the kiakahi, like that's our word, right, for purpose. It's a life force within itself. In my culture, it is that to which actually cultivates what we call mana. Mana is creative life force. And so when you tap into your kiakahi, your purpose, your creative life force will also begin to erupt in a way to where now it's being offered as a contribution to others. It's being shared, it's transferable, it's exchangeable.
And it is shared. I do feel it, but do you think there'll be a time where people like me and everyone who's been contaminated, do you think we'll be able to fully realign with nature the way you can for a 14-hour trek? How often do you go out anyway? Once a
Daily,
week?
daily,
Daily.
daily.
Daily. Well,
And,
then thank you especially for joining me.
and Abby, just to share with you and the audience, right? I do it daily because I want to.
Oh, how
It's
lovely.
not burdensome to me. It's
Right.
like that's when you know, right, that you're in your kiakahi is when as you function through the day, you're like, oh my gosh, nothing is burdensome. Right? I'm enjoying this. I want to do that.
Oh,
But
how
to
wonderful.
answer your question, Abby, yes, because I was once contaminated.
Oh,
I
yes,
was once
yes.
contaminated, right? And so I was able to purify myself by locating that kiakahi and then not just locating it and observing it, right? But also now applying it in my life. And it became like the thing to which I wake up in the morning and that's what I apply. It's like everyone has a primary informant. You wake up in the morning and everyone has a primary informant. For some people, the primary informant is I need to make money. For some people,
Yes.
the primary informant is I need to be liked today.
Yes.
For me, my primary informant when I wake up is my kia kahi, my purpose. How can I play with it today? How can it be
Okay.
expressed today? And I feel
Oh,
like that's the natural state of everyone. And so it's really the seduction of the contamination that everyone gets to reconcile, because that kia kahi that you have, Abby, and everyone has, the power of it is actually impenetrable. So it's
mhm.
that in itself is not corrupted. It's everything that's covering it that gets to be reconciled so that you can once again acknowledge it.
What can we do to do that?
Yeah.
Like how, like what was your spark? I know a little bit about your story, and if you don't want to talk about it, I'm okay with that. Um, so I know you were living in LA, and God bless LA right now.
Mm.
Um, and you had, can I say this? I
Of
don't want to make
course.
you uncomfortable.
Uh, Please.
Um, well, I guess it's part of your story, but not everyone wants to acknowledge all parts of their story. That, you were homeless, you had gone to jail, you had, become addicted to drugs. How did you get there?
Yeah. Well, and I feel like this is going to kind of like hit a nerve with a lot of people, and it's going to, be very, I would say, relatable to a lot of people. I was playing the game of
Right.
waking up in the morning and thinking, who do I need to be to appease the world? Who do
Yes.
I need to be? How do I need to perform today? And I reached a point of exhaustion.
It was too hard because it wasn't authentic.
Well, I mean, just imagine, right? And I'm sure many people can relate. You're performing for 20 hours of a day.
Yes.
You're gonna crash,
Yes.
right? And so that's what happened. And so for me, I'm like, well, I need relief. I need to check out. And so I'm like, oh, narcotics, opiates. They allow me to check out. And
Okay.
so I became
Who
addicted to,
introduced them to you?
well, so my journey with narcotics, with opiates, is actually quite unique in that I had terminal cancer.
Oh my gosh. This part I
That's-
did not know about your story. I
Yeah,
had no idea. So how old were you when you were diagnosed with cancer?
I was 27. It was
That's so
stage 4
young.
environmental carcinoma, and that this was back in the day where they didn't really have a lot of regulations on the prescribing of opiates.
Yes,
And so, because I
I
was a
understand.
cancer patient, I was prescribed a lot of opiates for comfort care.
Right,
And when I was, prescribed them, I noticed what they did to me. I'm like, wow, I just knocked out. I checked out for like
right.
half the day. And then when I came into, I would say the climax of my exhaustion of
Yes.
having to perform, I knew what I could resource in order to
Okay.
check out.
So you were still getting them from the doctors?
Yes, yes.
That's incredible. Um, that's incredible. But go
Well,
on.
that's part of, as you shared, I was incarcerated because part of why I was incarcerated, some of my charges was I was doctor shopping.
You were doctor shopping.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was forging prescriptions, and that's a criminal act.
And it was just for you. You weren't selling them. You were
Right,
using at that level.
right, right,
That's that I'm so sorry. And you are not alone. So
right.
many people fall into the same routine and the same habit. Oh, wow. So how did you stop using narcotics? Was it going to jail that because you can't get any more narcotics that you were able to um, just, you just went cold turkey?
Right. That's exactly how it played out. And that's even what my family became aware of, because at any point my family could have done some things to get me out.
Right.
But they're like, this is the only way I think we can save his life,
Tough love.
right? Is he has to be at a place where he cannot access the drugs at all.
Right.
And it was in when I was incarcerated.
How long was it?
Okay, so I was sentenced to 13 months, but I only
Okay.
served 6, and I'm going to explain kind of how that worked out. So I would say about in the third month of being incarcerated, I was in such hopelessness that I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I just need to commit suicide. And so
Wow.
at that 3-month part, I was like, we're just going to plan my suicide.
Okay.
as soon as I get out, right? But then something miraculous happened and really beautiful happened is there's some aspect of me. We call our higher self in the culture our aumakua. I felt that aumakua offer me a selection. It said, yes, this is a world of free will. If you would like to commit suicide, you may do that.
Okay.
However, what I want to propose to you is, have you accomplished your kia kahi?
Okay.
And I was like, at first, Abby, I was like, what's that? I was so entrenched, right, in the corruption and the contamination.
You had forgotten
I
everything
couldn't
your
even
tutu gave.
fathom the kia kahi. And
Right.
so it began maybe just a month of me saying to myself, well, what is that? So it distracted me
Right.
in a way from the planning of
A
the suicide. I was
positive
like,
distraction.
oh, what is the kia kahi? What? And finally I said, I think because I'm now running in circles here, I think the key is for me to just allow myself and consent myself available to remember. Instead of seeking.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm available to remember the kia kahi. And I was consistent with that every single day. That would be the thing that I would engage in through the day. It's just
Okay.
saying, I'm available. I'm available for my kia kahi to present itself to me.
Open.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how long after I made that commitment, but I had a vision, and the vision was, and it may seem simple, but I knew it was a vision because it was a full body. My entire body was electrified by this vision, and the vision was my grandmother's hands were
Right.
outstretched to me.
Wow.
And
Wow.
of course, the voice said, that is your kia kahi. And of course, it's poetic. And so I said, oh, I know how
Yes.
to translate that. It's everything my grandmother offered me. I'm now to share that.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
your kia kahi. And that was maybe like month 5. Okay.
Yeah.
The trajectory of my life changed forever that moment. I was so empowered by that kia kahi that I remember just walking up to one of the lieutenants at the jail and saying, hey, I'm useful. I'm actually
Right.
quite intelligent. Can
Yes.
you put me to work? Like,
Great.
please give me something to do.
Right.
And he trusted me, and he did. And
Wow.
I excelled so much in that 1 month with him that he gave a recommendation to the judge and said, this guy doesn't belong here.
Okay.
And I was instead transmuted to a rehab facility for 30 days, and then
Incredible.
I was released. And that's really been the trajectory of my life since then, and that was in 2015. It's
So
just
you went from the jail back to your home in LA, or did you decide, you know what, I'm done with LA, goodbye, I'm going to Hawaii?
well, so it wasn't. I lived in LA when I was a child. Every summer, I would go to
Okay.
LA because I have family there. I
Okay.
actually was in my adulthood was in San Francisco,
Okay. Very
but I
good.
never lived there. So you know that doctor shopping I told you about?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's why I go to San Francisco.
Okay.
So whenever I would deplete all the doctors in all of Hawaii, I would go to San
You would
Francisco.
fly there to
Right. And then
get
doctors,
more.
right. But I was apprehended in Hawaii.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
so you were in prison in Hawaii.
yeah. And so the moment I was released, went to rehab in Hawaii, um, my life has just been me willingly showing up with that kia kahi, and the world has become so friendly, Abby.
How wonderful, because you were ready for it.
So
Maybe you weren't
friendly.
ready before then. And I feel like you're the way I understand from everything I've read and seen, aloha means love. Is that true? And you were open to aloha, and now you're sharing aloha. And you said the highest vibration is love. And so
Yeah.
you're just living at your highest vibration then.
Yeah. And just accepting it and feeling worthy of it. And for many of us who feel like we've done so many things, we disqualify ourselves from it. And so that's going to be a saga for many people.
Okay.
Is to allow yourself to deem yourself worthy to exist
Yes.
within that aloha. And I would say, aloha, if we were to take even the vibration of aloha, which Abby, the energy of aloha is actually so colossal that we don't have a proper translation for it, nor
Okay.
do we want to have a proper translation for
Is
it.
there a Hawaiian word for it?
Well, it is,
Besides aloha? Okay, okay, very good.
but there's something else. If you even want to maybe specify aloha, we have something called aloha ma.
Yes, aloha ma. You said it in your emails. What is it?
It means self-reflective love.
Oh,
Self-reflective love.
did you
That
not learn that until you were about 15 years ago?
Well, of course, that was something that I bear witness to as a child, but the Aloha Ma, the initiation of Aloha Ma is something that you must yourself distinguish yourself as. No one else can really assign that to you. And
Okay,
so it's really coming to a full circle moment within yourself.
right.
And that is that Aloha Ma journey that all of us are going to be on, is to, allow ourselves to be guided and to exist within that vibration of love. And like I was sharing with you, prior to this moment in my life, the world was so dangerous to me, Abby. That's
Yes,
why I had to perform. I had to hide. I had to perform. I had to adapt to what I assumed other people wanted from me, because
right. What you
the world
think they
was so
want.
dangerous. But the moment that I relaxed into this energy of aloha, the world is so friendly,
Yes,
so friendly. The life I live today, I thought could only be a dissociative fantasy.
okay.
And when I think back, I'm like, okay, 15 all the way till now, like, what exactly did I do to
Hmm.
earn all of this? I'm like, I feel like there wasn't much effort.
There's the laugh. There's the laugh that I swear it is so filled with joy. I, I honestly, when I look at you, when I see your physical body and all the pictures on the Instagram, and I can't believe you were a drug addict. I cannot believe that you had terminal cancer. It's like, to me, just to look at you, I see a very whole and healthy, inside and out, and all these wonderful things. I can't believe your story is incredible. I just have quick questions. So, what kind of music do you listen to?
Ooh, the wind.
The wind. What is your workout regimen?
Oh, running, love running. I do ulu every single day. And gosh, is dancing count? Sure. I
Yes,
dance every day.
yes. What kind of dance?
What kind of dance? With the wind?
With the wind.